Welcome to Michigan's WW1 Centennial News Report. I'm host Dennis Skupinski. This episode is about High Seas Adventure, a Polish count in the German Navy who eventually decided to live in Detroit, Michigan. His name, Alfred von Niezychowski, and the ship he was on was the SS Crown Prince Wilhelm, a German luxury passenger liner. When war broke out on August 1st, 1914, the Crown Prince Wilhelm was in New York City. 2 days later, she departed that port on orders from the German Admiralty and headed south to rendezvous with the cruiser SMS Karlsruhe. After a 3-day voyage, she met the cruiser just north and west of the Bahama Islands. In just over 2 hours, they transferred two 8.8 centimeter rapid-firing guns, 290 rounds of ammunition, a machine gun, 36 rifles, as well as 1 officer and 2 non-commissioned officers and 13 ratings, before the approaching HMS Suffolk shortened the rendezvous. The Crown Prince Wilhelm was commissioned an auxiliary cruiser in the Imperial German Navy. Captain Lieutenant Therfelder, formerly Karlsruhe navigation officer, was in command. After being loaded with coal and provisions in the Canary Islands, the commanding officer was informed that Germany would no longer be able to supply the ship with coal or provisions, and that she was to head to the Brazilian coast. There she hoped to find ships that carried coal and provisions in order to keep her supplied during her days as a commerce raider. If not, she could be turned into a neutral port and interned for the duration of the war. During her cross-Atlantic cruise from the Canary Islands to the coast of Brazil, the Crown Prince Wilhelm had to avoid all contact with shipping, since she was not ready to embark upon her mission as a German commerce raider. The guns had to be mounted, and the crew needed target practice. Most of the crew were either reservists or civilians, and they received a crash course in their duties in a warship and general Navy discipline. A prize crew was selected and trained in techniques of boarding prize ships, inspecting cargo and ship's papers, and in using explosive charges to sink captured ships. Finally, all members of the crew were outfitted in the same semblance of a Navy uniform. The crew had worked at a feverish pace to get ready for war. They had been at sea for over a month. They had left New York, sailed to the Canary Islands, and now were off the coast of Brazil. It was September 3rd. The crew was now ready to start their mission to sink Allied shipping. At 8:30 on September 4th, the auxiliary cruiser Crown Prince Wilhelm encountered the British steamer SS Indian Prince. The merchantman stopped without the raiders firing a shot. Heavy seas, however, prevented the boarding party until shortly after 6 o'clock in the morning. The prize crew found a cargo composed largely of contraband, but before sinking the ship, the captain wanted to salvage as much of her supplies and fuel as he could possibly get. Continuing high seas precluded the transfer until the afternoon of September 8th. The Indian Prince's crew and passengers were brought over to the Crown Prince Wilhelm around 2 o'clock, and the two ships moved alongside each other and started coaling, and this continued until September 9th. The Crown Prince Wilhelm came to the coast of Brazil and South America in the hope of finding coal and provisions, and her success in locating these sources kept her there. Initially, she was replenished from the German steamers sent out from South American ports, specifically for that purpose. In fact, she spent the next month coaling from 4 such auxiliaries before she even contacted her next victim. During the next 6 months, the Crown Prince Wilhelm sank 13 more Allied vessels and captured and released 2 more. But it was taking a toll on her. Her engines began giving her problems, and the crew, from a lack of fresh fruits and vegetables, began to suffer beriberi. Finally, on April 11th, the captain decided to bring her into the neutral port of Newport News. After 251 days, the Crown Prince Wilhelm had sailed over 37,000 miles, had stopped 26 ships, 14 of which she sent to the bottom of the ocean. It was Sunday, April 11th. The fog lifted early. The morning broke purple and gold. About 7 a.m., 2 U.S. naval officers came aboard the Crown Prince Wilhelm to make arrangements for the official paying of respects from the Crown Prince Wilhelm's captain to the United States government. As the Crown Prince Wilhelm sailed up Chesapeake Bay, the United States warships she passed fired guns in salute. Then, the bands on the ship started playing the German national anthem, followed by the Star-Spangled Banner. The crew of the Crown Prince Wilhelm were interned in Newport News, Virginia. The sailors passed their time by building a German village, complete with streets, houses, police and fire headquarters, a church, a vegetable garden, and a weekly newspaper. Many nearby residents visited the area. The German sailors charged a 10-cent entry fee into the village for all visitors. The money they collected was given to the German Red Cross Fund. The sailors stayed there until the United States declared war in April of 1917, and then were sent to Fort McPherson in Georgia as prisoners of war. During this period of internment, Count Niezychowski had a chance to enjoy the social and diplomatic circles of the United States. His uncle had been the ambassador to the United States for the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but he recently retired in 1913. Count Niezychowski took advantage of his uncle's social network and was a great storyteller. He was known in these circles as the Jolly Polish Count. May 22, 1917, President Wilson issued the executive order which empowered the Navy to take possession of the Crown Prince Wilhelm. She was renamed the von Steuben and commissioned in the United States Navy as a troop ship. The von Steuben was scrapped in 1923. Alfred Groffen von Niezychowski was born July 28, 1888, in the Polish province of Posen, which became part of the German Empire when Germany was formed. He was the fourth of 6 children. His father died when he was 9, and his mother remarried and had 4 more children. Count Niezychowski, or Nitzy as he was called, was educated at the German military school in Silesia. Later, he attended the naval schools at Danzig and Kiel before being hired by the Hamburg American Line. He worked as an officer aboard these ships until he was transferred to the Crown Prince Wilhelm, and that's when the First World War broke out in August 1914. After leaving the port of New York, Count Niezychowski went around to the crew and bought up all the available film they had after buying a camera from one of the sailors. He decided he was going to make a photographic record of the cruise of the Crown Prince Wilhelm. The photographs and notes he took during the cruise of the Crown Prince Wilhelm later inspired him in 1928 to write a book of the adventures that he had while on the ship. After the war, in October 1923, Count Niezychowski became engaged to Nadine Allman, who was a Baltimore socialite. In January 1926, he renounced all of his European titles and became a U.S. citizen. Then, on December 27, 1927, he was married Nadine Allman. The best man was Admiral Walter McLean, commander of the Norfolk Naval Yard, where the Crown Prince Wilhelm had been interned 10 years earlier. After his wedding, Count Niezychowski and his wife moved to Detroit, Michigan, where he entered the business world. He first worked as a salesman for a printing and advertising company, and later for a real estate firm. In 1928, he published a book about the 251-day adventure he had on the Crown Prince Wilhelm, and gave lectures on the subject. He was known for signing autographs in green ink, and during the lectures, he always used a tagline that they never lost a single human life during the capture and sinking of Allied warships. Every civilized and courteous manner was extended to the passengers aboard the captured vessels. In 1932, Alfred Niezychowski ran for the Congress of the United States in Michigan's 1st District. He was a staunch Democrat and wanted to lower the tariff laws to restore foreign trade. He lost, however, in a primary to George G. Sadowski. The Count had no biological children of his own, but became guardian for his half-brother's children after his half-brother and wife were killed by the Nazis during the Polish invasion of 1939. Alfred Niezychowski died on June 13, 1964, and was buried at Mount Elliott Cemetery in Grosse Pointe.
Up to mighty London came an Irishman one day. As the streets were paved with gold, sure everyone was gay. Singing songs of Piccadilly, Randall Leicester Square, till Paddy got excited, then he shouted to them there.